Hello everyone! It's been a long time, but we are back with GPVWC from the Spanish Grand Prix. This is round 7 of the championship. As you can see, we've got 66 laps ahead of us, plus a full qualifying session. So a whole Grand Prix weekend kind of crammed all into to one 2-hour broadcast. And it is going to be fun as always. Joining me today is Ryan Elliott. And the cameras and the stream are going to be provided by Szymon and Frelik as usual. Ryan, how are you today?
Fantastic. At least in the UK at the moment, it is bright, sunny sky, blue skies. It's gorgeous, and it's good to not actually be driving tonight because I know that I would be sweating. But I'm really looking forward to this Grand Prix. It feels like it has been so long. Well, that's kind of because it has. And I'm excited to see how these Super League cars, if I can get my words out, are going to adjust to this new track layout.
Absolutely. There you see the calendar. We're nearing the halfway point of the season. Still this Grand Prix and then Canada to go. But yeah, nearly there. And to be honest, it has felt like a long season already, with the drivers enduring the first few rounds. There's been a little bit of chaos. Jake Dennehan has been threatening to run away with the championship, finishing on the podium at every single round, but it is not over yet, and we will get into that in a short while. After Spain and Canada, we're going to be going to some of the other classic Grand Prix, such as Great Britain, Hungary, Belgium, Italy, etc. And then, of course, the championship finishes with the classic championship finale of the Brazilian Grand Prix. But that is a long way ahead of us. We're looking at Sandeep Singh, aren't we? No, Stefan Roll, my apologies. Now, one thing to note about the Edge esports team, which you are riding on board with today, is that, of course, they themselves have been running away with the Drivers' Championship with Jake Dennehan. But today, Jake is not on the grid, believe it or not. It appears that he's had some kind of issue connecting or something along those lines. There are storms in the area. We've had a few storms here in the UK recently, and it seems that Jake has been hit by those. At least that's what we've heard. But what we know for certain is that there are 2 Edge esports cars on the server right now, and neither of them are being piloted by Jake Dennehan. So that leaves the championship wide open now. I know he had been driving away with it, but he's only 25 points ahead of Tom Stevens, who is second. So if Tom wins today and scores fastest lap, he could take the lead of the championship away, going towards the second half of the season. Ryan, exciting stuff, but very unfortunate. I definitely still see Jake Dennehan leaving here with the advantage, though.
Yeah, I mean, if I was the Edge team boss, I would be furious. But if I'm anybody else, myself included as another team manager, I'm kind of over the moon with that, to be honest. And Tom Stevens really needs to make the most of it. This is a prime opportunity for him to pounce here. As we see him go up to P2. He really needs to make the most of this. These sort of opportunities don't come around often. Got to capitalise. But I mean, just looking at that championship table on the driver's side, it's such a big gap between P2 and P3 already. So still, there's a long way to go in the season. We've seen Maguire losing his rear wing going into the pits there. But we're getting into the early stages of quali. Let's see what people can do. We've already got some times absolutely flying in.
Absolutely we do. Here's Yannis Volburn for HRT. HRT have a new-ish driver today. We've got Owen McGorgy driving one of those cars. Of course, he came in with a bang in Azerbaijan this season. It was his first race of the year, and he finished on the podium, P3. And McGorgy is P3 again today, so it looks as if he is going to be a real challenger for the overall honours. He's replacing Pascal Pollens, who has not had a great start to the season, and HRT have swapped them around for whatever reason. So that is a slight change to your lineup there. We've got nearly a full grid, just 2 cars missing to this one, and we'll try to update you in due time on what those 2 cars are and where they are. But they could still join in through qualifying. You're never too late until the race has actually begun, or at least until the formation lap has begun. But for the time being, we're watching the drivers setting their initial laps. So far, Jan Grankvist tops the times, Tom Stevens is second, and then it's Owen McGorky third, then Panzer and Machete. Those are the top 5 as we speak. Some regular names up there, some less regular names, but that's what you get when you have a slight shift around in the lineup of the race.
You've got a few familiar faces. Is there any new ones in this round? It doesn't look like it at the moment, does it?
I'm gonna have to look up Mark Schluter because I know the name, and I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's driven with us in the past, but I don't know that for sure. So I'm actually just looking that up right now.
Yeah. Well, also looking back, we haven't actually been and had a Spanish Grand Prix since 2019, which I didn't realise.
So just an update on that. Sorry, this is Schluter's second Super League race.
Yeah,
he actually did the last one in Germany as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's a good lap there from Salt Such as well. Going to spin to P2. Some new, I say newer faces, sort of carrying the top 4 there with Granquist, Stevens, McGorgy. I was about to say McGuire there. I really can't get my words out today. You can tell it's been a 4-week break. And then some familiar ones as well. Obviously Panzer doing well, having a cracking season so far. Machete is on P6, very good effort. But it's all looking really tight. I mean, the top 10 split between 3.5 tenths. Ruel and Maguire on an identical lap as well, by the way. And Machete and Schluter. There's quite a few.
Yeah, Machete and Schluter both 112.156. That's a bit of a benchmark if you want to get into the top 10. There's Adam Maguire, sorry, but Luke Maguire is on a purple first sector, so I'm watching both of the Maguires intently. Adam goes 9th. He's had a really up and down season with some poor results surrounding a singular victory at Australia. Of course, started the season with a podium as well. So with Adam, he's either on it or he's very much off it. Thomas Schwott crosses the line to go P11. And he has now jumped up to P8, my apologies. Here comes Tom Stevens. This will be an improvement and could be pole, and it's second. So provisional second for Tom Stevens, just 200ths off Grankvist as Machete now goes up to third, so improves his time further. And all of a sudden the top 4 are separated by 1/10 of a second, and again an improvement, and Maguire goes second. So Luke Maguire 4,000ths of a second off the provisional pole position. And I tell you what, the time's tumbling there reminds you of the end of the session, but we've still got 8 minutes to go. The final few minutes are going to be tight.
Yeah, it's already looking tight. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. 2/10 now with the top 10. I mean, look how close the teammates are as are 2,000ths of a second splitting them two. It's unbelievable. I didn't quite expect this from Spain. I mean, I know there's been quite a bit of complexity taken out of the last sector, but even still, the times are, I'd say, closer than I was anticipating. But there's still, I was saying this, there's still 7 minutes to go in the session, and there's still plenty of time for absolutely anything to happen. And you never know, Singh hasn't gone out, so at the moment as it stands, there is still possibility that Jake could join the session and qualify if Sandeep hasn't left the pit lane, or pit box, I can't remember the exact ruling. So, we'll see.
Fascinating. Well, there you go. Giuseppe Lino starting a lap of his own. I believe there is only one Pescara ADG car here today, so that's one of the missing cars. And I am slowly working my way through all of the other cars on the grid to work out what the other missing one is. Or it could be one of the Epic cars. Oh, I think I might have hit it there. So yes, so Jeffrey Fournier has one of the Epic cars, and I don't think there's another one. So does that mean? Right. Okay. Yeah, so I think it's one of the Pescaras and one of the Epic racing cars that's missing. Alexander Ragosa was racing the other Epic last time out, and it looks as if Alessandro Quinte is the Pescara who we are missing. So there you go, we've got to the bottom of it. 6 minutes to go in the session now, and we're about to show you, actually, if you watch on board or near Giuseppe Lino, the final sector and the changes made to it. there was that long sweeping turn that he's just been through, and then there's that one where there used to be a chicane, and they've now removed that, and it goes straight through its old layout, straight through the fast corner of the circuit. And of course, what I was trying to say before is that last time we raced here in 2019, there was a much more kind of jagged ending to the back straight, rather than the smooth sweeper that we have now. So a couple of changes to the track simplifies it a bit. Grankvist improves, and it's a 1:11.927. Meanwhile, yes, I was just about to mention that, but thank you, Szymon. Meanwhile, we've got a special livery on that car. It looks very much like a kind of like a 2015 liveried McLaren, or possibly even earlier. Has shades of the 2005-ish, like Rubel 1 liveried car. But yeah, very McLaren-esque livery to the Super Venturi today, and Grankvist using it to good effect and getting some limelight.
I didn't even notice that. If it is based on that livery, that livery, the company I work for sponsored that car back in the day. So there's something for you. You see McQuarrie getting a big slide on, but still, did he improve on that lap? Yeah, I think so. Even with that big slide out of the last corner. But Grankvist doing a fantastic job. He was super quick last time out. They've definitely made a big step there at Super Venturi. Well, at least one half of the garage has. Lalu 4/10 off. You want to obviously try and be as close as you can to your teammates. If Stevens goes on a provisional pole with a perfect final sector.
Very, very good, but still close. Top three separated by less than a tenth. Meanwhile, Alessandro Quinte has made his way into the session, so we have very nearly a full house. The only car we're missing is one of the green stripes. Here's the other green stripes, sorry, not green stripes, Epic. I got distracted by the fact we were on board with Mark Schluter, who goes fourth. Great lap from the driver in just his second GPVWC Super League race. He's done Super Light, he's got a podium in that, but to put his car P4 in Super League would be quite something. David Feidock also improving, and if there's anyone who knows his way around a GPWC racing circuit, it is David Feidock. Now, one of the reasons that Jake will be most disappointed about missing this round is that Circuit de Catalunya Barcelona is probably the track that I would most have expected him to win at. Not that there's any track where he can't win, of course, but this circuit tends to be a little more straightforward. It tends to be that the fastest drivers win here, because there's less kind of errors that people make, and of course you can overtake and things like that, so usually the fastest drivers work their way to the front, and Jake has proven himself to be easily the fastest driver in the early part of the season. So I think that if he had been here today, he would have won it, and it is quite something that he is not. Meanwhile, we do now have a full house. David Yunt has turned up in the second Epic Racing car. I don't know whether he's going to have time to set a qualifying lap, as off the road goes Jeffrey Fournier in the original Epic Racing Team car. And he's got a full lap now to get back to the pits. I don't think he's going to get another flying lap in unless it's a very quick turnaround. But there you go, a full house, Ryan. And they're still extremely tight in the times, with one more flying run still to go.
Yeah, it's been a somewhat interesting one. See Vax going purple in Sector 1. Let's maybe stay on board for a little bit longer. Let's see what you can do. But this is where all the times are going to start flying in now. You know, people have set their steady bankers, and this is where people just absolutely send it. Literally, as I say that, Vax goes through the gravel on the exit of that corner there. Obviously, this corner's had a bit of a modification as well in recent years, a little bit wider, a bit more flowy, faster than it used to be. But we'll have to keep an eye, see what Vac can do on the rest of this lap as he heads in that final sector.
Absolutely, Lino there, little bit out of shape through the sweepers there. Wonder if the corners here have names. I'll have to look that up quickly. Doesn't look to be a significant improvement from Giuseppe, but let's see what he goes into the pits. Never mind. Well, he might just get time to go out for another lap if he's really, really quick about it. But he's got to go right now. But whatever the case, Luke Maguire now is going to get another lap in. He is easily on time, and he is one of the 3 drivers within a tenth of a second of the top time right now, and definitely still a contender for pole. What a chance this is for Luke Maguire, with Jake Dennehan not here and Tom Stevens slightly further ahead. If Maguire can jump himself up the order, he can really start to throw his name in the hat for the win today. He is currently third in the session. Jan Grankvist separating the two after Grankvist scored his very first podium last time out in Germany. It was quite a breakthrough performance from Jan on that occasion. And we start a lap now with the 2021 GPVWC champion, Stefan Rohr.
Let's see what Stefan can do. He's had a bit of a up and down season so far. That's a nice way of putting it. I think expectations haven't been quite met. He did miss the first two races that Stefan missed. He had a bit of understeer in the middle of the corner there. Still purple in sector 1 though. It was a good start to the lap. It seems like a few people have gone purple in sector 1. Maybe not the best sector 1 from Stevens. There could be some improvement for him there as well. But obviously we're getting to the point now where Ruel loses it big time on the exit there. Hits the wall, and that's that session done for Stefan. Again, another purple in sector 1 from Grankvist. And if he stays level in the next two sectors, that will be pole, because he's already, half a tenth is more than how far behind Stevens he is. But then again, what Stevens doing right now, we'll have to find out.
Riding on board with Jan right now is really giving me...
2.
Yeah, look at this though, the livery of that car, especially from on board, you can tell it's modelled after a late 90s, early 2000s McLaren. Out of the final corner he comes now, and he loses it too! Grankvist may have been on course for pole there. He had a wonderful, wonderful start to the lap, and in the end, goodness, even with the spin, he's only about 2 seconds off. But whatever the case, he is not in contention anymore for pole position. Tom Stevens is going to improve again and moves the boundary, actually goes slightly further down, less than a tenth of a second off. Big twitch from McGorky, he pushes it too hard. Sepkowski sets the fastest final sector, he goes 8th, and I think that's it for pole. So there you go, Tom Stevens, followed by Jan Grankvist, Luke Maguire, Mark Schluter, and Ruben Machedi. And Schluter and Machedi, they're not full-time drivers in this series, so that is wonderful work from both of those drivers. And what an order we have to qualifying here with Tom Stevens. Top 4 in every race so far, and he's now on pole position. This is quite a chance for the THR driver.
I do actually think Machedi is now a primary driver, no?
His first race in Super League was only last time out, so I wasn't entirely sure, but he might well be, yes.
Yeah, I think he's replaced... why can't I remember who it was? Moritz Kropp. Yeah, in that seat, sorry.
Marco Frelik, sorry, just letting me know that the Super Venturi car today is primarily based on the 2005 McLaren, and yeah, I can absolutely see that. The reason I said kind of late 90s, early 2000s is because a lot of the McLarens looked quite similar in that era. I'm riding on board with Grankvist with his helmet design as well, with the kind of dark black and white and little bits of blue. Kind of gave me David Coulthard vibes. I know Kimi Räikkönen also had a similar helmet in that era. But there you go, beautiful nostalgic livery there for the Super Venturi, and Grankvist will start it from the very first row of the grid. So here's the qualifying order. Stevens is on pole, followed by Grankvist, and then it is Luke Maguire, Mark Schluter, Ruben Machedi, Zolt Schukes and Robin Panter, so both of the Adonis cars having a great qualifying session. Stepkowski P8, then Rohr P9 after that accident on his last run. Tomasz Wok is P10, and there you see the second slate of 10 cars: McGorgy, Maguire, Lalu, Moose, Schiertzig, Vidok, Fournier, Lino, Pushke and Wolburn. And then the final 6 cars will be Joffert, Gaia, Quinte, Wasserman, Singh and Yunt, although Joffert himself has a grid penalty after an accident last time out, and as a result will start from the very back of the grid. So those are your 26 drivers who will be starting the race here today, and a rather climactic end to the qualifying session with people pushing it to and over the limits in their quest for pole position.
Yeah. Just looking through the history of this Grand Prix, we currently have one former winner on track of this Grand Prix. That was 2016. Vidok won it, and it was actually at Catalonia as well, because obviously the Spanish Grand Prix has been contested over like Catalonia and over Valencia as well here, but some other big names in there. There was BBN have been on a 3-win streak here, but obviously they're not going to win today. Some big names that have won this Grand Prix. It's one of the, the core European tracks as well. I think every European wants to win here. You want to try and win all the main European races. That's what I'd be like. I wouldn't be fussed about the Americas or the Asian circuit.
I mean, you want to win what you want to win, but there you go.
You want to win everywhere, really.
Absolutely,
But
of course you do.
Unless you're Danahan, that's probably not going to happen.
You see, the circuit to Barcelona Catalunya is an interesting one because it's a, and I don't mean this in a mean way, it's a very basic track in that it has all of the core components that a racetrack tends to have. And as a result, it's a very good test circuit. So if you're good here, you tend to be good everywhere, and that's why the fastest people work their way through to the front. It means we're likely, as someone crashes heavily in the background, that was one of the Super Venturis, you're likely to see quite a strategic race with different numbers of pit stops and cars coming through on alternate strategies to each other. But at the end of the day, you're not too likely to see too many big accidents or long battles on the road or anything like that. It's a very different style of racing to a lot of the other circuits we have. It's a much more classic style of racing, such as the kind you used to get in the late 90s and early 2000s quite a lot. And it's a bit of a remnant of the past. Personally, I think it works a lot better as a testing circuit than it does as a race circuit. But I'm glad that there is this variety on the Grand Prix calendar, and I'm glad that we are still going to classic circuits like the Circuit of Barcelona and Catalunya. And of course, with Super League, we've had some fantastic races in the past at all kinds of circuits. It really doesn't seem to matter where we're racing. Simply because we have a format that works and we have drivers who like to race with each other, and so they do. But anyway, that's a very long-winded and waffly way of saying that we should still be in for a good Grand Prix here, even though the Circuit Catalunya Barcelona, or Barcelona Catalunya I should say, is not exactly what most people consider, one of the favourite driving circuits or anything along those lines.
I always think it's a bit of a weird one, like, even though it's like an F1, I know it sounds daft to say, an F1 track, so obviously it has to have certain requirements, it still feels like quite a tight circuit, I think. Like, every time I drive it, like, it's got runoff, but it's grass or gravel in almost every corner, like, there's not too much runoff, it feels like quite a tight circuit, and like I say, it has all the components to be a good track, it just sometimes doesn't deliver, at least in real life, but, on the sim, and especially at GPVWC, it doesn't matter what track we're on, we can make some entertainment, like, even around like Monaco, for example, where we've raced that in the past, our Super League drivers can make a race out of anything. And hopefully we're going to do it today.
I have to admit, I might be biased, but yeah, I do just find this quite a boring track to drive. Definitely not one of my favourites, but, we're not driving here today, we're watching, so we can sit back and enjoy the show. 66 laps ahead of us. It is a full Grand Prix distance. For anyone not familiar with the length of Grand Prix, it's about 310 kilometers, or the lap that takes you over that distance. That is changed sometimes depending on the track length and average speed and that kind of thing. For example, Monaco has fewer laps because if you did the full 310 kilometers, you would be there for about 100 laps, and it would take you a long, long time. And if there was any rain or safety cars at all, you'd easily break the 2-hour buffer. You might do anyway, but there you go. And that tends to make the Spanish Grand Prix right bang split in the middle of the Grand Prix in terms of the length that you run. It has progressively been getting shorter and shorter, simply because the track itself has got slightly shorter with the new changes to it, and the cars have been getting faster year on year as well. So we're likely to see one of the fastest Spanish Grand Prix today that we've ever seen, and we should see lap records as well, because back in 2019, yes, the cars were roughly the same pace as the ones we see out here today, but the track is slightly faster as well. So in race trim, they should just about be able to set a new lap record today. With that being said, though, oh god, so I was confused about this a few races ago, wasn't I? Was it?
2013.
Yeah. So no. So at the Nürburgring, I was really confused about why the lap records all seem to be about 20 seconds faster than they should have been. I've just been looking at the lap records here as well, and 2006 saw a 1:14.8, which shouldn't be possible even today with the shorter layout. So, did they have a shorter layout back then? Who knows?
I mean, if you look, so I've got, I'm looking at the previous Grand Prix winners, and in 2013, this race was completed in 59 minutes 52 seconds.
I think
means nothing anyway. But then in every other year, it's an hour and a half, like around about there.
They did a shorter race that year, though. It was only 43 laps.
Yeah. A weird one. Looking at the other lap time. Yeah, they're all fairly consistent over the years, really, like within a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
A couple of years where they've gone to Valencia or it might have rained or something.
I'd forgotten they did Valencia in 2017. Yeah, they did, didn't they? Because, because I thought that... No, I thought I remembered a wet Spanish Grand Prix in 20... But I think that was the Chinese Grand Prix that year that was wet. I'm digging really far back in my memory banks with that one. But yeah, they... Apparently, I can't remember anything about that race, Valencia 2017. Maybe I didn't quite see it. I don't know.
You seen who the winner was?
Rudy Van Buren.
I wonder what he's doing with himself these days.
I wonder.
Yeah, I was looking through the old stuff.
Oh, me too. I do it every single time. But yeah, as you said, we have one previous winner of the race on the grid today, David Feidock. Some other notable names: Alex Siebel won it twice. Ruud van Buren, of course, won it in 2017 when it was at Valencia. Agustin Canapino won it in 2015, and yes, another name.
Hot topic at the moment.
It is indeed. I wonder what he's doing for himself, but there you go. Lucas Ehlers won it twice here, and we've had some other big names winning it in the past, including former champions. So there you go. But it's all about today. Another name to be added to the books. With all due respect to David Feidock, we're probably going to have a brand new winner today to add to the record books as well. Possibly going to have a new fastest lap. Although looking at the previous lap records, such as the one set in 2006, I'm not so sure now. And again, very confused by exactly how that lap was in fact set. And aside from that, it's important for today's championship as well, because Jake Dennehan, championship leader, is not here. In fact, since we've still got a minute or so, I'm going to talk you very quickly through the current championship standings. We have got Jake Dennehan leading it. 25 points is the gap over Tom Stevens, so Stevens could come away from here as the championship leader if he takes the win and fastest lap today. Luke Maguire is third. He's 46 points down, although looking strong today, so could potentially throw his name in the hat, as I have a little bit of a hiccup. Luke himself has won a Grand Prix this year. He won in Azerbaijan, although didn't get to see the checkered flag first, and so he will be hoping to correct that today. Jakub Egalalu is fourth in the championship despite no victories as of yet and no podiums as of yet. He's been fourth on 2 occasions. Surely it's about time that Lalu, who I predicted to win last time out, can come through and show his hand a bit more. I'm absolutely convinced that he's capable of scoring podiums in GPWC. Dano Stepkowski is fifth in the championship, ahead of Tomasz Vok, so your two drivers there, Ryan. And Jan Grankvist P9 after his first podium last time out. Adam Maguire is P8 after winning in Australia. Robin Pouncer is P9, and David Feidock, former winner of this Grand Prix, is P10 in the standings. And as for the teams, very quickly, THR, Edge, Super Venturi, powered by RSR, and Nocturne are the top 5 teams and the ones to look out for.
Just going back, our lovely broadcast director has sent in to our broadcast chat the layout that they used in 2005.
Oh, really?
Yes, and you will notice something very interesting on it.
Broadcast team, where's the thing? It is... Yes, they weren't using a chicane on that day either.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I still think we'll get past the 114 there.
It was 2006 when they set the lap record, but yeah, no, I think we can do it. The pole position time today was a 1:11.8,
Yeah.
and to beat the lap record, we've got to do at least a 1:14.8. So that's definitely doable. So anyway, just a few more seconds until the formation lap gets underway for this race. I just realised I've been completely neglecting chat. Hello, everyone. We've got a load of people in the chat today. Wow, it's been very active. Well, there's no way I'm going to read through all of this, but hello to everyone who is watching along. People letting me know of some of the things that have been going on, reminding me about the 2005 McLaren livery. Yes, West. Oh, that's who was sponsoring the car that year. Of course, Mobile One was also with the McLaren, although I think it was West who were their title and livery sponsor. And then some more updates about the rest of the world of sim racing.
Terrible jokes in there as well, by the way.
Terrible jokes. Pescara number 2 is doing the test. He should join. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Rep F1. That's what happened. We ended up getting 2 more cars in the qualifying session, and I presume they were both doing the test. And yes, updates on Denahan. Apparently, that he has no electricity because of a storm. Rep F1 says lightning strike. So through absolutely no fault of his own, he is out of a drive for today. And Ed Hunter saying that Mark's name is pronounced Schluti rather than Schluter. Why does it end in an R then?
I think confusing. He then corrected himself in the next message.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Schluter. Okay, there you go. Or Schlut. Why is he put the...
We have a pronunciation guide for this. We should really look.
Why has he put the sh and the lu as like separate syllables? Shaluta. Is that it? Shaluta? Anyway, whatever. K3 Tree says hello, commentators. Yeah. Hello to you as well.
And then Royman said hello, Caitlin. No, hello, Ryan. See how it is. But thanks, Kentry, for saying hello to me as well.
Indeed, indeed. So away we go on the formation lap now. Let's show you the grid once again, just in case you missed qualifying or in case there are any other changes that we haven't seen. Here we go. So Tom Stevens is on the front row of the grid alongside that beautifully liveried Jan Grankvist Super Venturi / McLaren looking thing. Luke Maguire is third, and then it's Mark Schluter. Ruben Machedi is P5, Zolt Schukes P6, then Robin Panzer and Daniel Stepkowski. P9 is going to be the 2021 champion, Stefan Rock, and then it's Thomas Schwach. Owen McGorky there, finished third last time he was in Super League, and then Adam Maguire, the 2020 champion, in P12. We've got Jukka-Pekka Lalu, P13, Fabian Schitzek, P14, then David Fidok and Jeffrey Fournier. David Fidok, of course, a double champion in his own right, as is Maguire, I should point out. Giuseppe Lino, P17, then Philip Pushke, Yanis Wilburn, and Florian Gaia. Goodness, Florian Gaia's back. Sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier. I'll mention that in a second. Alessandro Quinte, P21, after jumping into qualifying late. David Wasserman, P22, Sandeep Singh, P23, and David Yunt, P24. And then the last 2 cars on the grid will be, well, there's only one actually, so Silver Yoffert, P25, and we appear to have lost one, but there you go. But yes.
Who have we missed?
Welcome back, sorry, to Florian Gaia, who of course had that health scare recently. Fantastic to see you not just up and about, but racing, goodness me.
Yeah, good to see him back. I know he was watching, probably wishing he was sat on his sim instead of sat in a hospital bed watching us go racing, but at least he's back now. Let's see what he can do. I'm just trying to work out who we're missing from the grid.
I think we'll get there in due time. Zolt Shukes, is that true? He's on medium tyres. Did he qualify? He must have qualified on those tyres. Yeah, he must have done. Because he's in the top 10.
I think it might just be the towers not updating, because somebody else was on hard and then it changed to soft in the top 10.
Yeah, but the tyre is not normally out of date. So anyway...
it was like a minute ago, but...
Okay, so McGorky appears to be the top driver on hard tyres. Shukes, very strangely, is showing up on mediums, despite the fact we're being told he did qualify on softs, which means he shouldn't be allowed to start on mediums. So something has gone wrong there. Whether it's the tower or whether it is something on Shukes' car or strategy itself, we don't know. The top car that appears to be legitimately on mediums will be Fabian Schiertzik, so again, keep your eye on that. And Sandeep Singh seems to be starting from the pits. He would have been starting from P23.
Right,
now we wait for the lights. Here we go. Oh god, I can't make a prediction that quickly. I'm so sorry. Here come the lights, and out they go. Away we go for the start of the race, and moving straight over goes Tom Stevens to block off the lead. He'll have the inside for turn 1, but here comes the Super Venturi of Jan Grankvist. They're almost 3 wide into turn 1, and there's a little touch, big wiggle. Maguire gets away with it. They just about get away with locking wheels on the exit. No Lando Norris movements. And around turn 3 they go, with cars fanning out 3 wide. Now into a heavy-ish braking zone, heaviest braking zone we've had so far, and cars sweeping around the outside. Adam Maguire almost getting hung out to dry onto the gravel. Now down towards turn 5, one of the green stripes cars kicks up the grass, and once again they all make it through. So it's Stevens, Grankvist, Maguire, Machete, and Schluter as we head up to the back straight for the first time, Ryan.
Yeah, sorry, just very quickly. Such is on mediums. I can see it in game. He's on the yellow sidewall tyre, so you know the rules in F1 aren't like that anymore, but in GPV it's still that way. So we'll have to see what happens there. But
so either he did qualify on mediums and we didn't notice, or he qualified on softs. And I mean, have the rules changed and we haven't noticed? Whatever the case, that appears to be an issue somewhere, and I think we're going to see something come up about that in a good few minutes. So Zolt Shukes currently P8 on those very strange medium tyres that probably shouldn't be there, and he's now being overtaken on the straight by Stefan Ruhl, who goes up to P8. And there's more moves going on up ahead, and that is Schluter getting 4th. So Schluter's up to 4th ahead of Machete. There is Shukes slotting into 9th position as we speak. But we don't know why he's on those tyres or what's going to come of it, Ryan. What a strange one.
Yeah, hopefully one of the Adonis guys can tell us in chat what's gone on there. But at the moment, I mean, he's been jumped off the drift by all the soft runners bar 1 at the moment. So yeah, he just needs to do what he can. If a penalty does come, I don't know what the exact penalty is. If it's a time penalty,
it'll be a disqualification. No. Yeah, tire infringements are always disqualification. If people do the whole race on one tire, for example, they get DSQ'd. So Chris Butcher saying in the YouTube chat, if he qualified on soft, it's a disqualification, but that will happen post-race. So we could get the whole way through the race without knowing exactly what's happened there. But whatever the case, the thing that's surprising me is that I thought and someone spun. Someone had a big spin, and it was Silver Yoffert. So Yoffert, who had to start from the back anyway due to a penalty, has now gone straight back to the back. But yes, as I was going to say, I thought the way that Parc Fermé worked in GPVWC and in Perfect 2 meant that you physically couldn't change the tyres unless you were going to start from the pits. So I'm not just confused about why he's decided to go on those tyres, I'm confused as to how he's been allowed to be starting on those tyres anyway.
You can change tyres because obviously people who've qualified on soft outside of the top 10 can switch to medium and hard. So yeah, I think everything else gets locked from Parc Fermé rules, but I think tyre changes and fuel's still available. Maybe a couple more, but let's see what happens here with Silver Yoffert. All looks pretty steady and just loops it on the outside of the curve, drops the wheel onto the green and goes round. Just as easy as that.
Still a very inexperienced driver, don't forget, Silver Yoffert, so I don't think we should really judge him for what happens this early on in his career, but whatever the case, it is still his mistake and he is still last in the race. Here's Stefan Ruhl running P8, has made up a position since the start. He's made up a couple of positions actually, because I think he was P11 in the end after that accident in qualifying, and has the DRS wide open. So the DRS is active as of now. Looks as if the biggest gainers earlier in this race have been the cars around Fournier, Lino, Pushkate, and then the biggest dropper has been Zolt Shukes, who might well be out of the race before it's even begun. David Yunt loses a position there. Through goes Sandeep Singh, who started from the pit lane and has already made up 2 positions now, with Silver Yoffert also falling by the wayside. So 4 laps in, not even a tenth of the way through the race yet. Tom Stevens leads, but Grankvist, Maguire, etc. are still in DRS range. It's a top 4 DRS train in the early parts of the race, and there they are in one of the 2 DRS zones on the track.
Yeah, Panzar really needs to make a bit of a move here. He doesn't want to get off the back of that pack so early on in the race, because honestly, like, I'm not going to say easy, but if he can just push a little bit harder, get onto the back of that, it'll make the rest of the Grand Prix go a lot smoother for him, because he can just sit in the DRS train, save his tyres, probably not save fuel, that's not really an issue here, and it'll make his strategy much more preferred. Do you see Granquist going for a move into turn 1? Does he get it done? As you see Stephen going around the outside? No, hasn't done it this time.
Does not change. It looked as if it was going to change, but in the end, Stevens had enough grip, and here comes Luke Maguire now. So not only is he battling with one of the THRs, but he's at risk from the other one. With the shamrock on the helmet, Luke Maguire currently in 3rd position. Are we going to see some teamwork here as they fight for the lead of the race? Wouldn't they like to come away with a 1-2? They've told us very vocally about how they're expecting to drop back further on in the championship as the developments come through. They're currently leading the team's championship by 13 points over Edge. They think Edge is going to overtake them, but with this result today, is that so straightforward? Depends on what happens in the next 61 laps, I guess, but there you go. Battle for first. The graphic now includes Robin Panzer as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has got a little closer on this lap due to the battling that's been going on in the first few corners of this particular lap. And here comes the straight again, so we'll see if there's another change. Grankvist has some pace. He's got a lot of straight line speed. Watch this. Flies to the inside of Stevens, and surely this time the lead will change. Through he goes. So Grankvist leads just as he did at the Nürburgring. He got his first podium on that occasion. Now he's going for his first race victory as we're 10% of the way through the race.
That was a good move. I'm surprised that that's actually happened. You know, he was stuck in a THR sandwich, but clearly Maguire wasn't putting on enough pressure, and he had enough sort of space to capitalise and hit the jump on Stevens. But now he just needs to try and run. If he can break that DRS, oh man, that'd be crazy. But at this moment in time, Stevens has got to stay under that second, just sort of get into a bit of a rhythm, see where Granquist's better than him, learn from it, and implement it into his own driving.
And the chat goes wild. People are spamming W's and 100 gifs and all of that. Goodness me, Jan is popular today.
There is some Granquist fans, like I saw loads cheering him on, not just in the YouTube chat, but on the Discord chat as well, so he's definitely a fan favourite.
Yeah, no disrespect to Tom Stevens, I'm sure, but Jan, goodness me. So he leads the race onto another lap, and that is the first lap that he will officially lead. Stevens and Maguire are 2nd and 3rd for THR. Now Ryan, is it a bit early for this, or could we see Stevens moving aside and going, right, Luke, your turn, let's have a go?
I wouldn't be surprised. I think this lap's going to be a big deciding factor. You know, it looked like for a second that Stevens was falling off, but he's sort of staying around that 6/10 mark. But, you know, it's so hard because you never know when it's too early or too late. Was that a disconnect? Just see? I saw some flashing there, like the car was lagging or something, but anyway, sorry. Sorry, going back to the point I was trying to make. You want to make the call at the right time, because if you make it too late and you've dropped out the DRS, then what? what's the point, you know? So yeah, let's see. The THI guys aren't daft, but it looks like Stevens is managing to stay with him for now.
That's a good point. If he did lose the DRS, I think they might have a try, but he is sticking with him. But to be honest, the amount of speed that Super Venturi had in the straight line there, I know some of it came from the draft and from the DRS and all of that, but normally you don't see people attempting moves like that 2 laps in a row. He was able to stick with him and able to fly through on the straight. Do you think that car might just be an express train at this point? Sorry, I've just seen Pushka's past Lino there for 14th in the order. But yeah, is that car just too fast for them?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Stevens now looks like he's about to start applying the pressure back on. I think it's just age-old DRS thing. It's just going to be backwards and forwards. Obviously, there's a bit of push to pass in there as well. We don't know when people are using it and where they're using it as well. Might be different. So I still think it's going to be on for a good race. I've got hope. But we say this, but we're still in our first stint. You know, like, we think it's going to be a super duper tight race, and then as soon as the pit stops come in, it just chucks everything up in the air. We have no idea where anybody is, and it just goes, all hell breaks loose, and there's usually 3 or 4 that just absolutely run away from the pack. But at the moment, I mean, we're already seeing some people dip into the pits. Stepkowski's in the pits. Stepkowski out, DNF.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe a disconnect. We saw a car lagging, and our broadcast director said he thought it was Stepkowski.
It did look like an RSR to me, so Daniel Stepkowski becomes the first retirement, and Ryan, my commiserations, there goes the first of our RSR cars.
Everything looks normal, and...
Nope.
Yeah, gone. Disconnect.
That is very much not normal, Ryan.
No. That's not in the crash damage budget. But, it's unfortunate, but that is part of the game, unfortunately. We've got one driver in doing a really, really good effort, so... Yeah, what else can you ask? Well, I'm going to say what else can you ask for? You can ask for 2 cars to finish, but...
Fair enough, yeah, that would be a bonus, but anyway. So here we go, on to another lap. Hello to Jake Denahan, actually, joining us in the YouTube chat. Deepest commiserations that you couldn't be racing with us today, Jake. But yeah, at least you're still watching along. Thank you for being here. And he says it's just DRS and slipstream that allowed Jan to be so fast. But then again, Tom Stevens has the DRS and slipstream now. And Luke, of course, has it from the 2 cars up in front of him, and we haven't seen him get alongside yet. So maybe, of course, it's not a hugely fair test. You have to see how they exit the final corner too, as Jukka-Pekka Lärly gets 14th position. But even so, he's not able to do what Jan was able to do to him so easily. Looked easy anyway, but there you go. Lap 10 now, and Grandquist still leads. Less than half a second in it. You can see there's 1 up, 1 down at the top of the order due to that little scrap that we've seen. And the biggest gainer in the race is now officially Philip Pushke. He's pulled away from the other drivers in the number of places gained, and he's up 5 now with his recent move on Jukka-Pekka Lärly and Giuseppe Lino.
Sorry, I'm too distracted by this YouTube chat. We've got Kentris in, high commentators again. Hello. And somebody making terrible jokes which are distracting me from the race. I should really focus on my job instead of looking at that. But I mean, look at this. Top 8 split by 2.5 seconds. That is, it's ridiculous. Grandquist taking a very wide entry into turn 1 compared to everybody else going through the markers. I'm not sure how that works, but you know, it's who's gonna go in first? Who's gonna undercut? That's what I'm looking out for now. You know, someone's going to be brave, probably. I don't know, maybe a Vac or a Rual. Machete maybe might be brave, going a lap or 2 early, try to get a big undercut. But you know, I really, really, really hope that it stays like this for the rest of the race, because it'll be fantastic. I mean, Grandquist's doing a good job of just keeping his head down at the moment, but you know, the strategies where the real action is going to happen.
He's sticking with him, isn't he? Very much sticking with him in the corners. And both of the THRs looking very racy at this point in time. Maybe don't quite have the straight line speed. Of course, one thing that helps the racing in GPVWC is that all of our cars, as a baseline, are identical. The thing is, as the season goes on, you have developments, and into the pits now comes Mark Schluter as well as Stefan Rohr. So first two cars in, and that tends to be, I mean, lap 12 tends to be about when we start to see the first stop, so that is to be expected, especially considering that these two started on the soft tyres. Schluter puts on another set of softs, so going for quite an aggressive strategy, unless that's about to update itself. But no, I think that is generally, or genuinely soft tyres. Oh, never mind, I'm being told he's on hards, so the graphics just not updating themselves at this point in time. Yes, RaceView's now saying hards as well, so you're absolutely right.
I've just noticed who's missing.
Who is missing?
Moose.
Oh no! Oh, Matthias was returning to the league today.
Yeah. His first race back, and he didn't even make the start. That was our one missing person at the start.
Damn. Well,
that's really unfortunate. Not a good day for the group that I work with.
very much so. Very much so.
Relying on Vac. Did I see Vac? Yeah, P6. Sorry, I thought I saw something on the timing tower change. But who was that went into the pits there? We got
Ooh,
Maguire.
big lockup. Big lockup on the way into the pits.
Yeah,
it's
Maguire
and Machete in.
Was it not Luke who got done for speeding it? Was it Melbourne?
Well,
Was it
there
Adam?
have been, yeah, Adam Maguire there. Luke himself may have been. I mean, it was close, wasn't it? He's going to be hoping, and yes, no penalty. Usually, you get slapped with a penalty on the pit lane exit if it's going to give you a penalty at all, and he appears to have got away with it on this occasion. Due to braking heavily, no doubt, but you don't want to lock up the tyres, otherwise you have no braking coefficient. And there is Tom Stevens once again. Panzer now catching right up. It appears that Grankvist might have been holding them up a bit in the corners, actually, because as soon as the other THR abandoned ship, Panzer was able to gain, 1 or 2 tenths of a second and get involved as well. So this puts a spanner in the works strategically. Makes you wonder, could undercuts be the order of the day here? Well, into the pits comes Tom Stevens. He wants some clean air. Of course, now it depends on where he comes out of the pits as to whether he gets it or not. Doesn't lock up the tyres quite as dramatically as Luke Maguire did. Stops in his box and presumably goes on to hards as well. Luke Maguire certainly did. And there's Adam Maguire up the inside of Zolk Hughes, making that move. Pushke and Pushke and Lalu also doing battle there. But where has Tom Stevens come out of the pits? That's the important thing to
behind
ask.
Maguire?
Behind Maguire, and he's going to be very nearly 3 wide. Whoa, Sandeep Singh swoops around the outside.
That's not Singh, that's Rual.
That's Stefan Rohr, sorry. So yeah. Rohr's jumped him as well, goodness.
That's really not a good... I made the point a few laps ago about, the P7, P8 making a gamble. Rual's done it, and he's managed to jump him. Managed to jump out of P2.
Jake Denahan says that strategy is probably soft, hard, and yes, I would agree with that. Potentially a third stop later on, depending on who's around you and where you're going to come out. But anyway, and now Panzer's right on the back of Grankvist. Grankvist was so fast early in the stint that his pace has dropped. He's about half a second off the pace of the people immediately behind him, and 2 seconds off the people on the mediums right now. So, well, 1.5 seconds off the people on the mediums. Zolk Hughes comes into the pits, so it goes off of those potentially illegal medium tyres onto some hopefully slightly more legal tyres. And Grankvist leads the race by only 3 tenths of a second from Panzer. That's the trouble with leading by so much early on in the race. Well, 3 wide further back, and that's Schluter, and around the outside, and very wide goes one of the THRs, Tom Stevens. It's Luke Maguire. So Maguire there getting involved, and Schluter is through. Now that appears to have been a move, right? Because Schluter pitted earlier.
Yeah.
So Schluter's got that on merit, and he could potentially be net P2.
I'm surprised. I'm really, really surprised at what's happening. It looks like Granquist is absolutely parking the bus. I mean, look, Fournier's managed to get to the back of this group. I'm not sure if these guys know what's happening behind them.
Is he extending the stint deliberately? Is he trying to make
Possibly,
it as long
yeah.
as he can, knowing that no one can pass him? He's into the pits. Here he comes. And following him comes Robin Panzer. I would say that's a no, it's not. Yeah, it is Panzer. I would say that's a mistake. I would want to get some clean air at this point in time. Here comes McGorgy going for the lead. McGorgy to the inside line and blasts his way through. Maguire almost follows him through, but Owen McGorgy will get his time in the sun after Tomasz Vok officially leads a lap. Granqvist exits the pits now. There's battling going on everywhere you look, and through they go. Schluter's going to lead the race. So Schluter and Maguire, this could be for the net lead of the race now. They touch, and is he going to run wide? They're going to touch again. Oh, and they've got away with it, and Maguire leads. Maguire, well, he's 14th, but he still leads effectively. They've both got past Jan Granqvist in the order. Machete's got past Granqvist. Stevens got past Granqvist. So Granqvist losing handfuls of positions by extending that stint, by parking the bus and getting undercut dramatically. And Schluter there versus Maguire was for potentially the net lead of the race. Here's the touch. They touched once, they touched twice. Somehow they both stayed out of the gravel and they both stayed pointing in the right direction. That was great racing, and Luke Maguire has just pulled the most important move of the race so far.
I'm surprised he didn't go around there. He just turned straight in, like a little bit too much into the side of him. But I think Vax made a big mistake staying out that extra lap there. He got mugged by every single one of the guards behind him, because obviously they were all the medium runners. Vac was effectively the leading soft runner at that point. It was, you know, McGorgy, Maguire and Fournier were on the soft hards. Don't know what they're on exactly, but on the harder tyres, which will be better at that point in the stint. So not the smartest move, I don't think, but equally you kind of did have to do the opposite of what the guys did in front of him, and it was Panzer and Granqvist who went in at the same time. So I really think that Granqvist just ruined a few people's races unintentionally there. His pace was too slow. It was too slow at the end of that first stint, and everybody's been jumped, including himself.
I agree, and just generally the soft tyres don't appear to be the ones to be on today. No one is on the soft tyres at this point in time, as Fidok has been off the road. Little trip through the gravel there. The only previous winner of this Grand Prix gets mugged by two people there as he runs wide and resumes the road. So here are two cars on medium tyres, on hard tyres, who lead the race. The top car on medium tyres is Jeffrey Fournier, and in fact the only two cars on medium tyres at this point in time are the Epic Racing Team cars. So there are literally only two cars out there on anything other than hard tyres at this point in time. Shows you exactly what the tyres of the day are going to be. As we head down the start-finish straight once again, Schluter slipstreaming his way up to David Wasserman, who Maguire passed a lap ago. Maguire's now making his way past so Sandeep Singh just up ahead gets it done. So there's still a car between himself and Mark Schluter. The order after the pit window cycled itself out might well end up being Maguire, Schluter, Ruel. But with so many cars starting on alternate strategies and running longer, it's going to start to get a little bit more confusing in due time. Still, it looks to be Maguire, Schluter and Ruel. And I think that we'll be able to say that up until later on when people start to go for drastically different strategies and throw us all off the scent. But there you go. We'll get to that when it comes to it. Down the back straight we go once again, and getting rather close in the background there. Stevens under pressure from Machete. These two were fighting all year last year in FS1.
Oh, we've gone yellow in sector 2. That is the other Red Archer. Again, Silver Joffet. I can't. There was no wings missing or anything there. He just parked at the side of the road. Yeah,
you can see the tyre marks from where he slid off. Looks as if he might have hit the wall, but it hasn't significantly damaged the car, at least not cosmetically. As Schluter now goes past Singh on the inside. Singh appeared to be trying to hold on there, and there is Stevens and Raw. Oh, Raw nearly being tipped into a spin as well. He saves it and he holds the position, but some very feisty racing down in the first few corners today. And yeah, so Raw still holds the position. In the background, there's Jan Grankvist passing David Wasserman. That's not Grankvist, sorry, that's Ruben Machete. Yeah, Grankvist is the McLaren liveried car on the outside line. Number 14 as well, seems to fit in with a McLaren of that livery. Of course, McLaren returned to a very similar livery at the start of 2015 with Fernando Alonso, and then immediately abandoned it after about 5 races. Silver Yoffett here, here's a replay of exactly what happened to him, and he appears to have parked it deliberately. So he's run off the road, he's locked up the tyres, but I think that he did that by his own accord. I don't believe that he's slid off the road or anything like that. And he becomes the 2nd retirement of the day, or 3rd if you count Moose, who failed to start.
Yeah, just wanted an early finish, didn't he? Got to get to bed and all that.
Yeah, definitely seemed that way. Was a long way out of the point, so maybe he's just had enough. Sometimes you see people making it back to the pits, sometimes they don't bother. There's Stevens on Singh, and that one a bit cleaner. Good stuff. We've got Machete on the outside, under pressure from Grankvist. And Grankvist once again appears to be quite quick in the early part of the stint, so I'm assuming it's his tyre conservation skills that are letting him down a bit today, which is unusual for Grankvist actually, because he's usually one to run a bit longer. His teammate certainly is, Lally. I mean, Lally runs for donkey's years, but there you go.
Just looking at the YouTube chat to answer a question from Dino Monkey. Magorgi started on hards. Everyone else pitted from soft, so that's why he's leading.
Yes,
At
indeed.
the moment,
Grankvist going for a move, and that is on Vassam. Oh, it's on Singh?
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. So yeah, the effective leader is probably Luke Maguire at this point in time, but we are kind of midway through the first pit window, so it is a little bit difficult to tell, and it does depend on other people making their stops and how many stops they end up taking. We have a temporary battle for the lead here between Magorgi and Maguire, at least one of the Maguires, not the one who we expect to take the lead in the end. And Wasserman loses out another place to Robin Panzer due to the whole pit cycle thing. It tends to work that way, but there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the timing tower. Such big gaps now. Well, I say such big. It's not that big, but you know, there's a good 4 seconds between. Not even more than that. Sorry, it's about 5-6 seconds between like Granquist and Maguire now, which you know is crazy considering what it looked like pre-pit stop. You know, there was only about a second or two in it between them all.
Schluter on Quinte, cleanly done.
Good move.
The race continues.
I tell you what, for all the slagging off of Barcelona we've done, it's been a great race so far.
Yeah, I have to admit this has been a pretty entertaining one. And a very unpredictable one. I mean, we're not long into the race, and yes, Maguire has the advantage, but it's only 2 seconds. He's making a move now on Fidok. And to be honest, and there goes Royal as well. The most impressive thing that Maguire's been doing so far is clearing all of this traffic. He's doing it much, much quicker than some of his rivals here. And that's what's giving him the advantage at this point in time. The fact that he's clearing his rivals cleanly and decisively, one at a time, and before anyone else can. That's partly luck. You do have to reach them at the right point on the track, but it's also very much skill, because they're not getting blue flags, they're not diving out of your way, they're racing their own race, so you've got to get past them by your own merit, and that he is doing. Tom Stevens has a tough nut to crack here. He's got Alessandro Quinte, but he's not at a particularly good part of the circuit to do it. Down the back straight we go. Shows himself to Quinte's mirrors, potentially just trying to say, hey, I'm on a different strategy. Could you please at least know that I'm here? And off the road goes Wok and shoots.
Oh,
So
man,
Thomas
my
Wok
day can't get any worse.
has lost his rear wing, and it seems to be Shukes who's been involved with that. And Shukes, who some would argue probably... I will not finish that sentence because, like I said earlier, we don't know exactly what happened with him and the tyre situation. And it's 3 wide further back with Stevens and Grankvist. And Stevens makes it stick. So Stevens, who was already ahead of Grankvist, holds him off. And they were passing Alessandro Quinte there. But yes, it appears that Shukes has run into the back of Wok somehow. Whether it was anyone's fault predominantly, whether they just got caught up and there was a miscommunication, we will have to see. But we're going to see, I think, because here comes a replay. Talk us through this, Ryan, if you can stop yourself from crying.
He's a mile back. I don't know what.
Wow.
Oh my word! What a joke! What an absolute joke! He's already likely going to be disqualified, and then has ruined Tomasz's race there. And I'm not just saying that as a team owner. That is, if that's not hardware failure, that is just terrible.
Yeah, I have to back you up there, my friend. I'm sorry to play steward or whatever, but that is a very bizarre one. And he was clearly braking because I've been looking at the telemetry on the replay. The brake, I mean, the brakes came on. Did he miss them first time? I don't know, but whatever the case, straight into the back of the car ahead he goes. Meanwhile, there's Pushke and Lino. Pushke goes through P3. Into the pits, we've got McGorgy and Bosserman. Actually, was McGorgy in trouble there? Because I don't think he did come into the pits, and there seems to be a yellow flag out. So he did come into the pits. Oh yeah, we saw him coming in. Sorry, I was distracted watching the replays. But yes, P16 for McGorgy now. That's where he's emerged. Adam Maguire will lead the race for a little bit. And that means that we have 2 different race leaders, pretty much, and both of them are called Maguire, with Adam leading overall and Luke leading in the net order. And now we start to see where the drivers on alternate strategies come out and who they've got to contend with for the remainder of this race. Of course, they are still very much in the race. Here comes a replay. This is Yannis Woolburn into the final corner. This is probably what the yellow flag is for. Ooh, we saw a lot of that mistake being made in qualifying, didn't we? He's lost his front wing.
Wall as well. That is so unfortunate.
With a full lap to go and no front wing. That one's going to hurt.
He almost just missed it as well. I was quite unfortunate. We've seen a lot of action in the pits there. Got Maguire, Lalu, Pushke, yeah, in as well. Singh's in as well. Anybody else? We've seen a few, yeah.
So, Lino leads the race now, and it's only he ahead of Luke Maguire now.
Wow, what an effort from Luke.
So there is Adam Maguire, our previous race leader, who was racing with Owen McGorgy and has come out about 2 seconds behind, so he's definitely lost time to McGorgy there.
Wallborn DNF. He went yellow in sector 3, I'm guessing he might have crashed again, maybe.
Yannis, who'd hit the barriers earlier on, appears to have retired from the race. Not sure if he would have crashed again, but maybe just pulled off the road and we saw a brief yellow before he eventually decided to give up on the race. But there you go. Mark Schluter's been caught up behind Fidok. He's losing even more time now. He's about 3 seconds behind Luke Maguire. Simply because of what I was saying, how Luke Maguire has just been carving through the traffic very, very well. That's not really a criticism of Mark, it's just that Luke has been doing it superbly. Into the pits comes David Fidok. Lino goes through to lead the race. Maguire will have DRS from him any second now. And Schluter is 3 seconds back. Looked as if someone else was in the pits there. We've got side by side McGorgy with Fournier. McGorgy goes through and is just behind Alessandro Quinte as well. And now I think the most important battle on the road is Royal versus Schluter for third in the order. There is McGorgy up the inside, gets past Alessandro Quinte for P9, and Fournier tries to take advantage of the whole situation, goes for the cutback. This is a decent place to have the inside line for, but it does, there he goes, sweeps through into the corner. I was going to say he does have to do it quickly because the next 2 corners after that are right-handers, but he got it done. Here's a replay of Fabian Schiertzig in the green stripes car, side by side with one of the Super Venturis, and contact, and around, and a good save in the end, but definitely contact, and that was Jukka-Pekka Lalu that he came into blows with.
Sorry, I'm still just trying to get my head put back on my shoulders. That was an interesting move there from Lalu.
Yeah, I mean, I think those guys are on slightly different strategies, aren't they? So maybe Lalu thought he wouldn't fight it too hard.
There's quite a few strategies flying about all over the place, which is nice to see. One person who's having quite a good race is Fournier. You know, all things considered, he's been a bit quiet this season. He's pushing for a good top 10 finish today. That's solid. But yeah, I think our order now is looking pretty much as it should. All the hard starters have pitted, I believe. Yes. So our order at the moment is representative. So let's just keep
representative, yeah.
Yeah, ish.
The trouble, of course, being that it tends to even itself out later on with the hard runners being a little bit quicker later on in the race. But there you go. This is roughly representative with Maguire leading from Schluter, Roll, Stevens and Granqvist. You can see the damage that's happened to Granqvist's race. And with Roll up 6 there, that very much is representative. He has actually gained all of those places and done a very good job to do so. There are the tyres that people are running on. Kushke, the top driver on medium tyres. We've got a few more on mediums than we had before. And that, of course, is because the drivers who started on hards have to use more than one compound over the duration of the race. Maguire gets 9th ahead of Fournier. And Fournier is one of the drivers who did it the other way around, went from mediums onto hard tyres. There goes Giuseppe Lino in the process. So there you go. No drivers on softs at this point in time. You wouldn't expect that unless someone had maybe been caught out in an incident and was going for fastest lap or something. 20 drivers still remaining in the race, and all of them still separated by only about 40 seconds. So still not a particularly spread out field. And there is Tom Stevens on the outside of Rohr. So I mentioned how Rohr is fighting with Schluter, but he himself is in danger here with Tom Stevens fighting for the podium.
Let's see what he can do here. He's going to get the DRS onto this back straight as long as he gets a decent run out the final corner. The gap looks a little bit big, doesn't it? Don't think he's going to get anywhere near by the end of the straight. Not enough to make a move. Maybe have to set himself up for the next lap. But obviously it's always difficult as well when the person in front of you's got DRS to pull them along as well. The deficit's not quite as big. But we're already getting a little DRS train forming here. Got just under 3 seconds to Maguire, so I think it's going to be tough for anybody to beat him as things are now. But like I say, there could be somebody could be on a ridiculous strategy, make the tyres work either in this stint or the next one, and something could happen. He could get in traffic, I don't know.
So 29 laps of the race gone already, nearly halfway through now, just a few more laps to go until that halfway point. Not that I'm willing down the laps or anything, this has been a rather exciting race so far. Meanwhile, Schluter's not as far behind as he was last time I looked. Strangely, Maguire's last lap was quicker, so either it was the lap before or it's been this lap that's been quicker for Mark. I'm going to see the times update any second now, but yes. The last lap's pretty much the same between the two of them actually, so it must have been about 2 laps ago that Schluter was faster than Maguire. Whatever the case though, actually yeah, he had a string of good laps looking at the, Magorgi gets past Pansar there, but yeah, Schluter had a string of good laps just as the hard runners came in, and is now only 2.5 seconds behind Maguire again, when he was about 3.5 behind, so still not over yet. We're not even half the way through the race, and Mark Schluter is clearly very fast. Stefan Rohr keeping him honest. Tom Stevens keeping him honest. Jan Granqvist, well, you know the story by this point. They're all keeping each other honest. and opening those DRS flaps whenever they can. Here we go down the straight once again, and towards the heavy left-hander. Used to be heavier, nowadays a bit of a sweeper, but you still brake a decent amount down there. And then you head into
Sorry, just to put in a little bit of admin. We're hearing Lino's got a drive-through penalty.
Okay, any idea what that's for?
Probably speeding in the pit lane, I'd guess. Also, Silver Yoffert was a disconnect. Screen freeze and disconnect.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not a classic disconnect.
Yeah, it wasn't just a give up like I may have thought at first. We see McGoggin, wow, right round the outside before they even got to the corner.
Very good.
That was a good move.
And that was on Ruben Machete there, so that is very much for position. So Owen, I was told by HRT earlier that they were confident. They thought, McGorgy's going to challenge for this one. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's going to challenge for the win, but possibly a podium if he keeps this up, who knows. Here's a replay from on board with Owen, and he sweeps right around the outside with all of the straight line speed he can muster. Perfectly done. It's about this point in the race that we do have to make the obligatory mention of the fact that some of these drivers are using push to pass from time to time. The difficulty being that we can't see who is using push to pass, so we just have to kind of assume that when we see a car going very, very fast, they are probably on the button. They have a certain amount of it that they can use over the course of the race, and it would very much help us as commentators if we could see just how much they have left and how much they've used. But I'm afraid we can only speculate at this point in time. That one, though, I think a pretty clear push to pass from Roman McGorgy.
Doesn't take away it being a good move in my eyes. Let's see what Maguire can do here into turn one. Turn one is providing some fantastic racing for us today. A little bit of contact. No, gets it done. All the way around the outside. Gets it done. Nice move. These Nocturne THR cars are providing some action into turn one. They seem to always be making moves into there.
Absolutely, they really, really are. Schluter, meanwhile, within 2 seconds, so he's reeling it back, isn't he? His last lap, nearly 0.3 of a second faster than Luke's. And this is a race that refuses to stop being interesting. It pendulums this way and that. And I mean, this is what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes with the GPVWC, you get races that aren't the pure carnage that you think of when you think of, the banger Grand Prix from history. But even so, there's always something to talk about, always something to keep it interesting. In my opinion, there is no such thing as a boring Grand Prix, whether that be real life or sim racing or whatever league is doing it. And that's simply because you always have something interesting going on, whether it's on the timesheets or on the track. And today it just so happens to be on the timesheets. 0.6 of a second faster on that last lap was Mark Schluter there. And Luke Maguire seems to have had quite a bad lap, actually, by his standards, so I think he must have made a mistake. Maguire now swaps places with Machete. He is on a flyer, and clearly Machete not wanting to hold him up as Adam flies past now into 7th position in the race.
Let's keep an eye on this gap between P1 and 2. I can't believe how much it's come down the last couple of laps. But again, it looks like it's going up a little bit again now, so it's really hard to tell, obviously, until they get onto a proper straight. But let's see if Schluter can catch onto the back, he's just going to pull, Rualt and Stevens with him. Oh, and even Granquist as well, actually, sorry. So it's going to turn into another spicy little battle forming. And then again, it'll be probably a rinse and repeat where we've got, like maybe in this instance, maybe say 6 cars, and it'll be just a repeat of, they get to the pit stop window and somebody goes brave, undercuts, and then jumps them all, and it's just that all over again, like we had to get Maguire in this position to start with.
Indeed. And across the line once again, their lap times very nearly identical. But good broadcasting work there from Szymon Frelik as Ruben Machete comes in. Good broadcasting work to show us the gap in real time between Luke Maguire and Mark Schluter, and then catching Ruben's pit stop. I expected he was going to come in soon because he was giving up places and, of course, gave up that place to Adam Maguire. I think Ruven's earlier stint was a little bit more promising than his second stint of the race, and I think he's probably on a bit of a downward trajectory at this point in time. But keep it up, anything can happen in the late stages. This has been a real pendulum of a Grand Prix so far. Meanwhile, here's
got another
McGorgy,
DNF,
who's
sorry.
in charge.
Sorry about in there. Quite a big DNF. Sandeep's thing. Out.
Yes, indeed. So one of the Edge cars out of the race already, I'm afraid to say, as the other one's running in third position. Sandeep must have been a late call-up to this race after Jake Dennehan's lightning strike on his house, and we've heard that that is in fact what happened. But whatever the case, he is not going to make it to the end of the race today. I saw that he was in the pits, and now he is out of the race. We're now over the halfway point in this Grand Prix, and still none the wiser as to who's going to win it. Honestly, the top 6 cars are separated by less than 5 seconds at this point in time, and at the rate Owen McGorgy's going, it could be less than 4 seconds in any minute now. Maguire and Schluter once again set identical lap times to the 10th of a second, so they are absolutely trading blows up there. Well, they're not really trading blows, they're just remaining completely stagnant. And there is Sandeep Singh retiring to the pit lane, so we've lost one of the Edge Esports cars. That's a little bit of a shame, really, because honestly, 5 retirements up ahead of him would not be unheard of. It would be unlikely, but not unheard of, and that would have guaranteed him points. But I guess maybe they're thinking long term, thinking save the engine for when Jake gets back. But whatever the case, out of the race goes Sandeep Singh.
Yeah, it's a shame. Sandeep's been super sub on quite a few occasions this season and in previous seasons, and haven't quite had the result today, obviously ended in a DNF, but that brings us down to 19. That's not what we like to see, but it is what it is. As we see, Lloyd obviously doesn't have DRS this time, but he has just brought it to under a second there.
You're right about Sandeep being a super sub, by the way. 29 Super League races and not a single full season of competition. That's how much of a super sub he is here.
Yeah, I mean, he's read quite a lot over the years. Like I said, nearly 30 races. That's ridiculous when you think about it. But do you remember when his first appearance was in Super League? How many years ago was that?
I've got the stats page up now, so that's a little bit cheaty. But yeah, 2014 Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah, so he's been doing it nearly across 10 years. But again, that's almost like 3 years of the season.
Absolutely. I mean, he's done easily a full season, just not all in one go. Back to the race, by the way. There you see the gap between the leaders, exactly the same as it was last time I mentioned it. Mark's last lap 0.2 of a second quicker, but Maguire has set slightly quicker laps on other occasions as well. Ruben Machete, meanwhile, just set the fastest lap of the race, but we are still just about a second away from the lap record. Still some more time to be found if we're going to beat that strange 2006 lap. I think it's still definitely possible, especially as drivers get lower and lower fuel towards the end of the race. But it's going to take someone going for a bit of a Hail Mary and not really thinking too much about their tyres. Whatever the case, probably still going to happen, I'd say. And Machete's lap is a 1:15.748. Back to the lead, Maguire and Schluter. Their last laps, Schluter was quicker by 1/10.
Just trading time, aren't they? Just going back and forth, just about. I'm very interested to see what Rualt does here. Obviously in the DRS at the moment. If I was him, I wouldn't attack, but it's easy for me to say that commentating, but to see what he does, obviously in the driver's seat, you might think that Schluter is giving him too much of an easy ride. Might want to make the pass and make a charge at Maguire, but it's all a bit quiet for the moment, apart from the fact that McGorgy and Adam Maguire have caught up to the back of this group now.
Yes.
Interestingly, I think McGorgy could be on for a fantastic result here. The strategy that he's on, Schluter's in. Yeah.
I was just about to say, actually, with the top 7 pretty much in DRS range of each other, it reminds me of the early stages of the race with Grankvist holding up a big bunch of cars. And I've been wondering, are we going to see some more undercuts and more people taking the initiative. Well, Schluter's in. Still a long way to go in this race.
Yeah, I think that's a bit early.
He's on those hard tires, but is he going to have to stop again? Maybe. He's got 20. He's got 28 laps ahead of him, and he's done. I mean, it's doable, isn't it? Yeah, it's a long one, but it's doable.
But again, I mean, we saw how much.
Then again, I said that last time about David Fidok. I thought he was going to do a ridiculously long stint towards the end of the race, and he ended up proving me wrong. So maybe I'm overlooking a 3-stopper.
I think on this occasion you're not. I'm just surprised. I am a bit surprised, but you know, he might prove us absolutely wrong. And regardless, he's done a cracking job so far in the race, so I don't doubt. As we see Ruot going as well, maybe he wasn't too ridiculous. Because Maguire's in as well.
And Ruot was very, very aggressive on the way into the pits. All sorts of ragged driving, and Grankvist around the outside now of Tom Stevens. Nearly goes for the lead. This is just like what we saw early on in the race. He's got the straight line speed. McGorky all over his tail now. Now it starts to get exciting. So Schluter heading down the start-finish straight. Where is he in relation to Maguire? And here he comes. So Maguire's going to be ahead. Maguire has stayed ahead of Mark Schluter. Machete just behind Stefan Ruot, so the order just about staying the same there, but Schluter has definitely got closer to Maguire. This is brilliant stuff at just over the halfway point in this race now. Here is Jan Grankvist going for the lead, and this bunch could be holding each other up now. With that being said, they are now free from Luke Maguire. They can now begin to push. So as well as racing, they're free to do quicker lap times than they were doing before. Are the undercuts still going to be just as powerful? Well, someone's going to pit this lap, I have a feeling. Into the pits comes Tom Stevens from the very front of the grid, and through goes Jan Grankvist. So Grankvist will once again lead the race. Cue the W's in the chat and all of that. And he did run later in the first stint as well, so no real surprise about that. McGorgy and Maguire on his tail, but where does Tom Stevens come out? I have a feeling that was a pretty good in-lap for Tom, and this could be close. Probably not going to be leading overall, and there go. Actually, I think there was going to be a move there. This is Schluter on the outside. Schluter for the lead of the race on Luke Maguire.
Whoa.
And it's a good move. He's made it stick. Mark Schluter is challenging for this victory. It's only his second race in GPVWC Super League, and he has the advantage. Mark Schluter is in 9th position, but realistically, we all know that he is leading the race. Here's a replay now, and this is the move into turn 1. We saw them flash past the screen side by side as they went past the pit exit. He's got the overspeed, he goes to the outside line, and he doesn't need to have the inside because he's got the move. Mark Schluter up past Luke Maguire, sorry.
Fantastic move. If I'm going to be honest, I expected a bit more of a fight from Maguire. You know, traditionally one of our... aggressive is not the right word. What's the way I'm looking for? I'm going to stick with aggressive. You know, he definitely puts it all on the line, and you know, quite often it works. But it kind of looked quite easy there for Mark. But yeah, fantastic move, and you know, green stripes. What a race they're having. The
Green Stripes are 12th in the championship so far. They have not won a Grand Prix since 2019 with Jerne Simoncic, so this would be quite something for them. Out of the pits comes Robin Panzer, P12. Grankvist still leads just ahead of McGorgy and Maguire. We have Mark Schluter ahead of Luke Maguire now, Stefan Ruot just behind them, then Stevens and Machete. Machete gaining a little bit of time in the early part of his stint on those fresh tyres. We saw that he was setting fastest laps. I think he might start to cycle his way out of that group towards the end of the stint, but it really does depend. And with that, with the slipstream that we just saw, Schluter actually set the fastest lap of the race so far as well, and that would come with an extra point for Green Stripes. So Schluter, not just P7 in the order, not just the net leader, but the fastest lap as well. Grankvist in. Now where does he come out? That looked like a better end to the stint than he had the first time around. if only slightly. His last few laps have been fairly good. And as he begins to drop down the order, that's only because he's in the pit lane. McGorky will lead now ahead of Maguire, but only just. Grangfist sees, he's going to see Schluter and Maguire going through. Grangfist and Stevens were very close there. There's a move, sorry, and that's Ruhl. So through goes Tom Stevens on Stefan Ruhl, and Grangfist will come out just behind Machete. That's not what he needed there. I really do think that Machete was the guy he was aiming to get out just in front of. So not quite mission successful there for Jan Grangfist, with Machete likely to cycle back slightly further on in the stint. But an important move there. THR have both their cars back up into what could potentially be the podium positions.
Yeah, let's just wait and see. I still think, you know, Grangquist's going to have fresher tyres as well, so that's one to think about. It's just so hard to predict. I still think that everyone came in earlier than I expected. You know, considering how many laps they'd done on the hards in that stint, I'm just surprised by everybody really, but obviously they know a lot more. They've been practicing this for, I imagine some of them have been on it for, as soon as we finished the previous Grand Prix, you know, 4 weeks ago now. They'll know the strategy inside out, and I don't doubt them one bit. Let's see what happens, but I think it's going to be interesting to see the tyre advantage from some people who've decided to keep it out a couple of laps longer. To see Grangquist going for a move there on Machete, gets it done before they even have to turn in for the corner. Great move, had the DRS.
Done, and it needed to be done. And a new fastest lap for Tom Stevens now, so could he still be in contention for that victory? To be honest, at this point in time, it really depends on how willing his teammate is going to be here. We've got even Stefan Ruhl still right up with them, haven't we? Goodness me. And these 4 cars that you were looking at are the most important cars in the race at this point in time. Here's Adam Maguire on the back of McGorgy. Will either of these two pit on this time around? Probably not, to be honest. They'll probably stay out for a little longer, just because of the way that their strategies have been going. And they do indeed stay out, so Maguire will now have a swipe at the lead, I expect. He's got the DRS open, he's got the overspeed, and he's definitely going faster than McGorky. He was closer than he was a lap ago, but not quite able to go for the move. Jeffrey Fournier into the pits now for Epic. And here is Schluter on the back of David Feidock, and straight through. Grangfist now with the fastest lap. We're within a tenth of that record, so I think we are going to see a lap record today. We just have to wait and see who's going to do it. And Mark Schluter gets a car now between himself and the THR drivers behind.
Exactly what he needed. If he didn't do that move there, it was all going to go a bit leery, but he got it done. And like you say, Feidock's not just going to roll over, is he, for Maguire? He's a hard but fair racer, you know. He's not like he's lapped down. You're not going to get blue flags, but he's coming up to the DRS straight here. Let's see what happens. Maybe he can get the move. But then again, Feidock's got the DRS as well, so it's not quite as effective for Maguire. Gonna have to be down the main straight if it's gonna happen, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's got the chance for sure. I think he's gonna do it. It's a little bit easier than usual to pass a car of a similar pace to you here, since you do have those long straights, and it's one of the longest runs down to turn 1 of any Grand Prix on the calendar. Here he goes, and that's going to be a relatively straightforward move there from Luke Maguire. And his teammate not able to follow him through just yet for the time being. Sorry, being a little bit distracted there if my sentence didn't come out quite right, but there you go. Tom Stevens now needs to also find a way past the car just in front of him, David Feidock. And he's got to do it without the help of blue flags or anything like that. Feidock staying out later. He is always the one to do an alternate strategy, is David. He stayed out very long last time out in the Nürburgring. Looked for a long time to be challenging for a podium, and then pitted quite late for a set of soft tyres, ran to the end. Did a pretty good job actually, was very pleased with himself as the checker flag fell, and yet not quite able to turn it into a podium like it looked like he'd be able to for a lot of the race. Now, the fight for the podium is between Schluter, Maguire, Stevens, Royal, Rankvist, Machete potentially. In fact, Maguire and McGorgy, don't count these two out. They may be fighting with each other and they may be on an ultimate strategy, but that strategy has seemed to play into their hands more and more as the race has gone along. And there's Stevens making the move on Fidok up the inside, and that gives him a little bit of breathing room now, as Royal behind doesn't have quite as much of a clean run at it.
Yeah, it's really starting to spice up again, and it's going to be interesting to see what McGorgy and Adam Maguire that is, what tyres they're going to go for as well. Obviously on the alternate strategy starting on the hards, are they going to go for softs maybe? And have a super duper quick final sting? Let's see. They're getting towards the sort of lap where, you know, probably about lap 49 or 50 they could pit for softs. We saw guys doing first stint 16 laps easy on soft, and that was with a full tank. So let's see what they can do. I think that they're going to be the ones to watch really in this race.
20 laps to go now. We're just over 2/3 of the way into this Grand Prix. Half a second is what separates the two leaders on track, and strategy is what separates the other cars around them. We've got Schluter and Maguire further back fighting for what could potentially be the win at the end, and then Roar fighting with David Fidok for position on track. Through he goes now with the DRS, and Grankvist, not able to follow him through just yet. Lalu, who I was going to mention there, has also not yet pitted this second time around. He stays out and stays in third position. And now we wait and see if he's going to get in the way of the lead fight in due time, or whether they'll be able to clear him quickly. Giuseppe Lino who pits this last time around as well. Oh, less than 0.3 of a second between the leaders through one of those micro sectors there. You can tell that they're close on track, closer in some places than in others. That's of course because the different sectors are put in different places. You have braking zones to factor in, you've got corners and straights. Across the line they go once again. I think Maguire is going to have an attack this time around. No, not quite. Okay. Keeps threatening to, for sure.
I'm not sure if they want to or not though.
Yeah,
I can't really work out.
Be long gone by now if this is real.
Yeah. I can't work out if it's like a preferable move for him to make or not at the moment, because they're not slow. I don't think McGorgy's slow. I just think they're so evenly matched that the DRS makes it look like Maguire's much faster, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like if they're swapped, I feel like it might just be the same the other way around. So if I was Maguire, don't know, would I hang on to my tyres or would I just send it? I know I probably would just send it, but Maguire's got more of a brain than I do.
And you have to remember that before they found themselves in all of this clean air on track, they were both on the up. They were passing people around them, and they were both gaining positions in both the net. Oh, big slide! And that was Luke Maguire there saving it out of Campsa, and a really, really risky one there. It was just like what Roar did in qualifying, but Roar kept his foot in and wasn't able to save it. But on this occasion, Luke Maguire gets away with it, and now he's going to be holding up his teammate Tom Stevens as the momentum goes away from him. Now down the straight, Schluter has Lalu just up ahead of him, and there goes Maguire. So Maguire leads the race, at least for the time being. Up the inside goes Schluter, and he will pass Lalu now, who was never going to make things easy for him. We still have, Grankvist is still in contention for a podium here today. Panzer now just ahead of Fidok. These two old rivals have a healthy respect for each other, I think. I haven't asked either of them about the other one, but they've been racing for long enough that I should hope they do. And here's a replay from onboard Luke Maguire, and you're going to see him get over the curb and have a huge twitch, and that...
Wow!
His reaction times there were pretty phenomenal. Because I tell you what, that's not the kind of slide that corrects itself. That's not the kind of thing where you can just let go and let it happen. Because if you do, it snaps off in the other direction and you go flying into the gravel. So that was pure drivability there from Luke Maguire. And his racecraft has not just kept him in second place, but kept him in the race full stop.
We see the top two dive into the pits. Maguire did get past Magorgi as well. I think he slowed up Magorgi a bit on pit entry there as well, which was interesting. Lalu dives in as well. It's got to be softs for these guys, right? I said about lap 50 they could go on to softs. Let's see what they do.
16 laps on softs is doable, but I think it's probably safer and better at this point to go into mediums, just from what I saw earlier on.
I disagree. Those guys were doing 16 laps earlier on with full tank. With less fuel, I think. Really, it looks like they've gone on to mediums. I'm very surprised at that. Magorgi definitely. I couldn't quite see on Maguire's car. That really surprises me. Not gonna lie.
We've seen that elsewhere in GPVWC as well, where drivers they've pitted at a time where they should theoretically be able to run to the end on the softest tyre, but they don't necessarily want to because it's a little bit of a risk. It kind of encourages you to push too hard and ruin your tyres before you should, and maybe it's faster to go to the end on mediums. But then again, softs give you track position, so who knows? Whatever the case, 16 laps to go and they've made their pick, so it's a bit late now, but out of the pits they go with Maguire in 9th position and Magorgi in 11th. They actually were separated by Jeffrey Fournier in the end. I wasn't expecting to see a car between them, but indeed there was, and that's definitely going to play more into the hands of Maguire than it did on Magorgi. Now those two are going to be fast in the late stages. I'm very much expecting one of them to take the fastest lap. David Feidock into the pits as we speak, and he too will bolt on. Actually, knowing Feidock, he might actually go softs. Here goes Magorgi, straight past Fournier. Needed to do it, and he does. And Feidock goes mediums as well, so never mind.
Wow, I am so surprised. I say these guys know better than me, but I really did think they were all going to jump on softs.
Into turn 1 goes David Feidock on those medium tyres. And up through the gears in that orange livery. If anyone wasn't here last time out, we were able to confirm why that livery is orange. Apparently, David only likes to race red or red-ish cars, and Gadona, the livery designer, doesn't like red cars, so they settled on orange because it kind of felt like a bit of a compromise.
And team owner.
And team owner, yes, of course. And that's why you end up with a slightly un-Feidock-like livery there, but you know it's close enough, and you know still a pretty good livery. And the start-finish straight once again. THR in close contention with Royal right behind. Schluter is getting away now, partly because of that big twitch we saw from Maguire, but his lap times are casually better. And finally, an old record has fallen. So Aaron Magorgi in P8 currently in this race has just set a 1:14.638 to take the fastest lap of the race and a brand new lap record for the first time in 17 years. Partly due to the track layout, but there you go. And actually, commiserations to Maguire, who had the lap record for about a second. He had a 1:14.876, which is about 100th of a second faster than the previous record. And then Magorgi came through literally right behind him and took the new lap record. So Maguire can put that on his CV. Lap record holder, former, for about a second.
And if any of you guys know Luis Fernando Laf, you can send him, let him know that his record's finally been beaten. But something tells me that not many people have contact with him.
Will Panisi's ears are just poked up somewhere going, ooh, haven't heard that name in a while. Tom Stevens been well, and the THRs are going to swap. So Stevens is going to go through to second. Is it now his time to have an attack at the leader? He's got to tilt off 2 seconds somehow. And if anyone can do it, then Tom Stevens definitely can. He's the driver set to gain the most from Jake Dennehan not being here today. And bit of a slide again, bit of a twitch, but holds on to it. Goodness me, got a little bit overexcited about being ahead for the time being. If he'd had a bit more of a slide, Maguire would probably have gone, hey, you've had your time, I'm going straight back through then. You wasted your opportunity, but anyway. Now, can Raw pounce while they're weak? Maybe have an attack at Luke Maguire, as he's just been overtaken. Of course, Maguire will have the DRS from Stevens up ahead, and we might well get a classic DRS train forming. Another thing to note, actually, is that in a DRS train, I would put my money on Jan Grangfist, because earlier on in the race, we saw the DRS train with the 2 THRs and with other people behind, and it was Grangfist who flew through and went to the front of the order. So definitely keep your eye on this Super Venturi car as well. His chance at the podium is not yet completely gone.
He was the last to pit as well out of that leading group.
Yep, so he'll be the fastest right now.
Yeah.
Up through turn 3 they go. It's a long, difficult corner, which, yeah, is probably flat out nowadays in these cars, but only just. It's certainly not easy flat. And will change how it feels depending on how your car's handling through the course of the race. Up towards the chicane. Change of position further back. I think Lino and Yunt. Oh yeah, Yunt's in the pits, that'll be why. So that's in contention for the final point paying position in this race. Points go down to P15 rather than P10, as they do in a lot of real world motorsports. We're using a MotoGP inspired point system here in GPVWC. I think it works very well because with the large grid sizes we get here, 26 cars, I think it's just fair to award points down to 15th place rather than just the top 10.
Hey, well, I'm glad you said MotoGP. GPVWC is making, you know, F1 look stupid. You know, MotoGP is usually the more exciting one, whereas GPV's more entertaining, and it's then even probably more entertaining today than MotoGP usually is. We've made a fantastic Grand Prix out of Catalonia today, I think, and you know we've still got 11 laps to go. The race isn't even over yet.
I'm not the kind of person to make comments about that aimed at Formula One, because I personally absolutely adore Formula One, but I have to admit this has been more exciting than this year's Spanish Grand Prix. I think that's just, you know, that's what's happened. But anyway, on we go. 11 laps remaining in this race. Luke Maguire still holding within a second of his teammate, and that's important too, because he has the DRS to defend from Roll and Grangfist behind. And Stevens is in a difficult situation where he's got to push, he's got to catch Sluter, but Maguire himself, it's up to him to stick with Tom Stevens, and that is what the double podium for THR hinges on right now. Out of the final corner for another lap, there's Stefan Roth. The lap times have been quicker than Schluter's, but by 0.2 of a second that last time around. So Stevens 0.2 up, Maguire 0.2 up, Roth 2 and a bit tenths up, and Schluter still very fast, 1:16. This race is not going to be over until the very, very end. I can sense a really climactic ending coming to this one, and any one of about 5 drivers could win it. Here comes David Feidock now, swapping places with Philip Pushkate. Through he goes. Feidock pitted a lot later, so no surprise there's not going to be that much competition there. You're never going to hold up your faster, fresher teammate with no respect, or no disrespect to Philip Pushkate. And Ruben Machedi is going to, well, I was going to say make an easy move as well, although he's going to be held out to dry through that little corner there. The outside now, turn 5. That corner's called Repsol, I think. And once again, unable to find his way through, but you can tell how much quicker he is. He's finding places to attack on the tightest section of the circuit. Up towards Kamsa. And now he gets the DRS, but ironically he's further back because of the way that the turbulent air works. To the outside, and there's going to be absolutely no room there, and he's going to be on the outside again for the next one.
Can he get all the way? No, he's not getting it all the way around.
Oh, I tell you what.
You could do.
Oh, it's a fast one. Gets it done. Nicely done there from Ruben Machedi. And yellow somewhere. Lino apparently has had, oh, he's lost his rear wing. that looks to have been a Stefan Ruhl type of accident from qualifying.
Not been his day, has it, at all?
No, he was still potentially on for another point, but here we go. Out through Campset, and this is what could have happened to Luke Maguire had he not had the reaction times of a Fleet. And Lino hits the walls pretty heavily.
Really good of him to stop dead there.
Yeah.
Instead of just rolling. I have to at least applaud that. It's nice to see someone actually put the brake on for once.
Would have taken out his teammates if he wasn't careful.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to do. That's another DNF to add to the list, unfortunately. But I still think it's been a fairly clean Grand Prix. We've had a few disconnects. Hasn't been too much crashing, which is nice to see.
Maguire's going to get Panzer there.
Yeah,
I think that was always going to happen. He was catching him at a rate of knots, about 0.6 of a second per lap. Whoa! Oh, it's a THR, and it's Maguire. So Luke Maguire, after I was just praising his car control skills, has now gone around, and he's down to 8th position in this race. Well, that takes one driver out of contention for it. He was running 3rd, and that puts Stefan Ruhl up into the podium places. I was racing with Ruhl, so did they touch, or was it all by himself? He goes defensive, so Ruhl's definitely there. They did touch. They touched all the way through the corner. Around goes Maguire. He's facing backwards, and he kicks it back up to resume in 8th position. Now, did Ruhl move in, or was this a racing incident maybe? They definitely locked wheels. I really want to see that from on. Can we see that from on board Luke, please? Okay, here we go again. So, we're looking back. We're going to look ahead now. He's on the inside curb. Ryan, what do you say?
I can't quite tell. I'm not going to make a judgment call. I'd have to see like a over the top view.
And Stevens is within half a second of Mark Schluter. He has absolutely caught him. Grankvist goes for 3rd. Grankvist pulls the pin and he's 3rd. And once again, the chat is going to go wild. He still has a chance here. Stevens is right on the back of Schluter. We've got about 7 laps to go. Not even that now. Goodness me. Maguire, very unfortunate in that one. I have to say, rubbing may be racing, but in Grand Prix, you don't want to see that much rubbing. Machete up the inside, goes past Fidok, P11 now. And Noah pointing out that this race has had more DNFs than the SL2 race. Well, that would make sense because we are a longer race, but yes, there has been a little bit of attrition today. We had 26 cars make qualifying, 25 cars started, 18 cars remain, 17 of those on the lead lap. And here is Tom Stevens going for the victory. This is going to be an extremely climactic ending. Green Stripes have not won since 2019. Schluter has never won, and this is only his 2nd Super League race, but he's never won in any of the other GPVWC ladder series either. And here comes Tom Stevens, and he pulls... Oh, well, I thought he was going to go for it there. It was very late, but pulls out of it in the end. Surely that's where he's strong, though. And that is where you're most likely to see an overtake at this track. There's Ruhl, dropping back slightly from Grankvist. Can Grankvist catch up to these top 2? Get involved, maybe. Wouldn't that be phenomenal? A 3-way fight in the last 6 laps of the race.
It's been so up and down, I can't believe the current order. It's crazy. I mean... Green Stripes leading is just something we haven't seen it in years. It's so nice to see. It's quite refreshing, actually. It's such a new talent to Super League as well.
After the first pit stop, I very much expected Luke Maguire to win the race because he was carving through the traffic. He was pulling 3 seconds ahead. He is much more experienced than Schluter, and I thought to myself, yeah, you know, with Denahan here or Denahan not here, Luke's got an open goal here, but he's 8th. And look at this. We've got Schluter leading the race. We've got Stevens 2nd. Grankvist has DRS, I think, from Stevens up ahead. Stevens is going to get it. Stevens goes to the inside line. He's easily got enough room, and Tom Stevens takes the lead of the race. Tom Stevens leads the race once again, and I've lost count of how many leader changes we've had today. This has been absolutely fantastic. Most of them have been on the road as well, although we have had a good deal of strategy. And with 5 laps to go, Stevens leads. Schluter and Granqvist will both have the DRS.
Very, very good move. I mean, we could see it coming from a mile away though, but I think genuine race leaders, not dependent on strategy we've had. It's been Stevens, Granqvist, Maguire, Schluter.
So we've had those 4, but
yeah.
we've had them swapping around a bit as well.
Yeah, and
of
then
course,
a couple of people on strategies and stuff who jumped.
Yeah, we saw a brief battle for the lead between Adam Maguire and Owen McGorgy with the pit window and all of that. And we've had Lalu up the front. We've had, I think, did Panzer lead? I don't think Panzer quite led, but he was close. So yeah, we've had quite something here. And what a race the GPVWC Spanish Grand Prix has delivered to us today, and it is not over yet. We are now into the final 5 laps of the race. Here is Adam Maguire, who has DRS from Ruel, who himself has DRS from Granqvist, from Schluter, from Stevens. It's a complete train up ahead. Actually, it's not quite. That interval isn't an overall interval, so Granqvist doesn't quite have DRS from Schluter, but he does in some sectors, and he might well get it in the DRS activation zone. Here's a replay, and this will be Adam Maguire out of the final turn. I thought I saw him run a bit wide. Yeah, got bottomed out over the rumble strip there. Possibly cost him an opportunity. Still in close contention with Royal and the others. Granqvist didn't quite have DRS, not quite that time around. He's so close though. Very, very close. Now, out through the final few corners we go for this particular lap. Mark Schluter, 0.7 of a second behind Stevens. Probably not in contention to fight for the lead on this particular lap. He's got to stay in DRS range now. Noah says he has a podium locked in for sure. I think you might be referring to Granqvist there. I'm not sure about that because Rott and Maguire are still right behind him. Stevens maybe, but to be honest, no one's really got it locked in because you've got to keep it clean. I thought Maguire had the win locked in earlier and he's had a spin. Dylan Platt saying Mark has driven great this race. Yeah, he absolutely has. Mark has been absolutely sensational, and this is going to be his first GPVWC Super League podium if he keeps this up. You see the drivers who made positions up and who lost positions. David Yuntz made up 8. He might still get a point out of this. That would be quite something. We've got other drivers making up 7. The biggest losers, of course, have been the drivers who have DNF'd, but that's always always bound to be the case. Down the straight we go, into the left-hander. Schluter still in contention with Stevens. And now the question is whether Granqvist can get within DRS range before the straight, and I think that he can. Ryan, this is thrilling.
I really do hope that he hangs on to the DRS and we get a really interesting last couple of laps. You never know, he might be banking up all of that push to pass, but Granqvist's looking close as well. If Granqvist can pounce now, has a couple of laps to attempt to catch up on the back of Stevens. Obviously, Granqvist with the better tyres out of these lot as well. So I can't believe this. I feel like we haven't seen a finish like this in so long. We've got 5 guys all in a train for the lead here. It's really refreshing to see. Out of all the tracks as well. Spain.
Absolutely. I have to admit, this is my least favourite track for racing, so to see it producing such a Grand Prix, it really shows the quality of GPVWC. Where do you reckon Jake would be if he was here today? Would he have cleared off, or would he be right in and amongst this fight?
I think he would have cleared off.
Fair enough. I
hate to put a dampener on it, but yeah, I do.
I would have to agree with you, but then again, at the rate this race has been going, who knows? But doesn't matter. It's only the drivers in the race who are tested, and the drivers in the race have put on quite a show for us, and they still will. We've got 2 laps to go, starting from about now, and in those 2 laps, we could see any number of things happening. Granqvist has a great run here. You can tell from the body language of Schluter's car that he knows he is coming. Into the first few corners, they clip the apex perfectly. All 3 of the leaders do. And out through turn 3 once again. Still within DRS range. The top 5 are in a DRS train. And we are about to see a final lap for the ages.
I have to laugh. I'm not even watching the cars go around. I'm just looking at that timing tower. Just trying to see what the gaps are looking like as we get close towards another DRS pickup point. So he will have it, but he won't be close enough to make a move into the little... Would you call this hairpin, this corner?
Not really. It's a bit
kinda
too
like,
sweeping.
Yeah, it's a bit sweepy, isn't it? But yeah, didn't quite have it there, but he's still close-ish. He's just at that what I like to call, and you hear me refer to it every broadcast, the mistake distance, where all it takes is Stevens getting a bit of understeer, going in too quick into a corner, and you know he's ready there to pounce.
Well, guys, this is it.
Great.
We got 5 for the lead on the final lap. This is Maguire. Adam Maguire to the outside of Stefan Rott now. Sweeps past him into P4, into turn 1. So Adam Maguire is P4. Can he still get a podium? This here is Jan Grankvist, who led the race earlier on, who scored his first podium last time out, who is on course for yet another one, but he wants more. He clearly wants more. They all do. Out towards the latter stage of the lap. We've got about half a lap to go from this point. Up towards Kamsa, one of the DRS trains, or one of the DRS ranges coming up now. The final full DRS range of the lap. I think he's done enough now. I think Tom Stevens has got this race sewn up. He's just got a few corners to go now. He came onto this lap with just 0.7 of a second to lose. He's managed to keep it under control, and Tom Stevens is going to come out of the final corner to win one of the most thrilling GPWC Super League races of all time, and definitely the best one of 2023. Mark Schluter gets his very first Super League podium in second place. Jan Grankvist is third, scoring 2 podiums on the bounce. Adam Maguire gets 4th on the very last lap, ahead of Stefan Rott. Then Owen McGorgy, Robin Panzer, Luke Maguire, Jeffrey Fournier and Jakub Lalu round out the rest of the top 10. Also in the points, Ruven Machete, David Fidok, Philip Pushke, Fabian Schitzik and Alessandro Quinte. And then also finishing were Jens Wasserman and Florian Gaia. They're bringing it home on his first race back in GPWC after a serious health scare. Thank you so much for joining me there, Ryan. Wasn't that as they touch wheels after the race has finished? Goodness, they're getting rowdy even after, to be honest, I think that's just a respect.
Yeah, I think it's teammates, not teammates, sorry, but like in the same group.
Sister cars, yes, yeah. Absolutely. And they will be delighted. Tom Stevens more than anyone. That's the first time he's seen the checkered flag. Sorry, I'm confusing him with his teammate there. That's the second time he's seen the checkered flag first this year. The first time was in Imola. And he moves level on points with Jake Dennehan now. We are level on points for the lead of the championship, heading towards the second half of the season. Ryan, what a day this has been for GPWC as a whole.
It's been fantastic. It's easily the best race I've commentated on. I loved every moment of it, apart from my team disconnecting and getting punted. But other than that, I mean, what a story. You know, we had so many different leaders, and there was about 4 points where I thought somebody was going to walk away with the race, and I predicted Stevens, and he's come across with a win. And I mean, you can't. I can't finish this sentence without saying what a race for Mark Schluter and Green Stripes. They really, really, really needed that, and hopefully you can go on to do, big things for the rest of the year. But that's it from me tonight. Thanks for having me. Unfortunately, I can't stay around for the interviews. I've got to shoot off, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I look forward to our next Grand Prix. Hopefully, we have more racing like this.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Don't worry, I've got it covered for the rest of the broadcast. You head off, but yeah, thank you so much, and
see you all in
I'm
2
so
weeks.
glad we got to see that.
Bye.
So not only was that the first podium for Mark Schluter, but it was the first podium for Green Stripes since 2019. Couldn't quite bring home the win, but by God, did he give it a good go, and absolutely deserved that second place finish. Grandfist, Maguire, Raw, etc. They all gave it such a good tilt. They so nearly took the win there, away from Tom Stevens in the late stages, but he held on like Gilles Villeneuve in Harama 1981, and he's come away with the victory. There you see the order once again: Stevens, Schluter, Grandfist, Maguire, Royal, McGorgy, Panzer, Luke Maguire, Fournier, and Lalu. Commiserations there to Luke Maguire. I personally don't think he did anything wrong in that collision. Machete, Fidok, Pushke, Shitzik, and Quinte scoring points. Also finishing were Yunt, Wasserman, and Gaia. And then unfortunately retiring from the race were Lino and Singh, as well as Volban, Shukes, Vok, Yoffert, and Stepkovsky. So we're going to go to some interviews now. And first of all, we're going to speak to the driver who scored his very first podium last time out and has backed it up with yet another podium today. Jan Grandfist, that's 2 on the bounce now. How are you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. It's a decent race, this one, even though this time I didn't have the help of a race engineer, but we managed to survive.
You did more than just survive, my friend. You were only just behind the leaders at the end of the race there. What a finish that was. Could things have gone slightly differently? Could it have changed the order? But yeah, what a finish, my goodness.
Yeah, definitely. It was a bit of a tricky game, obviously, with push to pass and DRS. DRS was very, very powerful here, so if you managed to lose DRS from the cars in front, then you were in big trouble unless you just pushed and caught up again. So that was problem number one that we had. Obviously, Tom, Mark, and all these other guys in the train, Stefan, they all had the same exact problem. So it's just who could play it cool and get the tires to last, and obviously also spare just a little bit of that push to pass, which I wasn't able to do.
Absolutely. You did get your time in the sun, though. You led the race earlier on. Your car seemed to be a rocket ship in a straight line there. Was that push to pass, or did you just have really good straight line speed?
Yeah, like I said, let's just say I had a very trigger happy push to pass finger. So at the start, so at the end, I didn't quite have push to pass when I needed it. So yeah, that's why.
Fair enough, fair enough. Jan, you're now 4th in the championship with 2 podiums to your name. Your results just keep getting better and better. What's next for you? What's next for Jan Grandfist?
Yeah, I'm hoping to keep this form. Obviously, it's good to have 2 podiums now after the drought of having 0 podiums in total for Super League. But obviously, coming back from the form that I had in Superlights, it's nice. And yeah, I hope I can continue that. Also, big congrats to Mark Schluter with this P2, I want to say.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us, Jan, and congratulations on 2 podiums on the bounce and quite a day of racing.
Thank you.
So that was Jan Grandfist, but we can now speak to our overall race winner, Tom Stevens. Fantastic stuff.
Hello, how are you?
I am okay, thanks, but I'm sure that you're doing even better. Goodness me, what a race.
Yeah, that was quite a crazy one in the end. Very, very tense. And I'm going to say there were definitely stages in that where I didn't think I was going to win. So, wow, I'm quite speechless. That was, yeah, not really sure how that played out like that.
Tom, you had 4 cars in a DRS train behind you at the end there. How did you hang on to that?
I think, well, that was mainly due to the tyre offset. So in the first stint, me and Jan, we ended up going quite a bit longer than other drivers. And, well, in the end, that just paid off in the last few laps. I just managed to have the extra pace with the extra tyre wear. And, yeah, it just seemed to work. Like, yeah, just got to say, big thanks to Luke, Adam, Toby. Oh, my God, I can't even remember everyone's name. Sorry, guys. Yeah, everyone back at THR Nocturne have done fantastic prep for this, and yeah, it would be a lot more difficult without them. So yeah, thanks guys.
Now you guys keep telling me that you're going to drop off the pace, and then you keep running 1 and 2. What's going on, guys?
Well, Well, that is not completely true. So it was just for the last round. We ended up dropping a bit back, but then we had like a huge upgrade arrive for this one, so we caught straight back up again. So the next 5 races is going to be very crucial for us, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
Fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, that was an amazing, amazing day of racing. Pole position, you dropped back slightly, but you worked your way back to the front and ended up holding off 5 other drivers for the victory at the end there. And that's your second win of the season. Now, I know that Jake wasn't here today, but what do you think you can do about him in the remainder of the season?
Well, I mean, it is a bit bittersweet that he's not here today. It would have been nice to race against Jake. So I hope he's able to attend all the future rounds. But well, we're now level, I think. So it's going to be interesting. And well, I know what I need to do now.
Absolutely, you got to push like hell, but I'm sure that you will. So thank you very much for speaking to us, Tom, and congratulations on your second victory of the season.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's speak to... we've got 2 other drivers. Yeah, we can speak to both of them. We can squeeze them in. First of all, let's speak to the other Maguire. Let's get in Adam. Hello, Adam. How are you?
Hello, pretty good. Yeah, good result. Happy with that.
Absolutely. P4 in the end, but you could see the victory. You could see 3 cars right in a train up ahead of you. How was that finish and how did that come about?
Yeah, at one point I thought I was probably going to win, but I figured out fairly quickly that I didn't have enough PTP for overtaking, and running high wings was, and everyone in the DRS train, it was too difficult to overtake once I caught the train. So I'm glad I got ruled at the end, but maybe in a different world I would have got maybe P2, but I'm really happy anyway because I didn't really have a lot of time to prep. Actually, the first laps were in the official practice, so it was yeah, it was away at work, so I wasn't able to do any practice this week. But yeah, it was, I mean, over the moon with that result, to be fair.
Yeah, and it came via an alternate strategy as well. You were working your way up, but you kind of had to right from the start. Did your thoughts around strategy kind of change as the race was going on, or did it happen as you expected it to?
I had no idea of the strategy. I was just listening to David was helping us do engineering, so yeah, start on the hards and just go from there. I didn't know how many laps to do, so I was just kind of following on to see when he would pit a lap after that, and then yeah, kind of just copy what Owen was doing. Probably was the right strategy to possibly win the race, but yeah, just maybe used up too much tires and PTP at the end.
Fair enough, but still a very, very good race, and you provided us with quite some excitement towards the end there, making that overtake on the very last lap of the race. Yeah, congratulations on P4 there. That's your best result in a little while, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in the next few races.
Yeah, thanks. We're in a bit of a drought, but hopefully I can get a few better results.
If today's form is anything to go by, then you absolutely can. Thank you, Adam, and yeah, good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, it looks as if Luke has dropped out, but that's okay because we can now speak to Mark Schluter, who scored quite a result today. Mark, how are you?
One eye is happy, the other is a little bit sad.
A little bit
Not
sad.
win.
That's
Yeah,
your first podium in your second Super League race.
Yeah, but so close to the win. That's
I know.
a bit sad.
I guess that's the racing driver mentality, you know, second being the first to lose and all that. But, I mean, there was only about 0.7 of a second or something in the end. Like, you couldn't really have been much further off. How did you manage that race overall? How did you go from being, you know, an underdog success story in qualifying to being like, wow, I could actually win this thing?
Well, I think it's part of I have better race pace than quali pace normally, and I could actually manage my tires pretty well. I think I had a better tire management than the guys around me, but in the end, unfortunately, the tires were a little bit too worn to really challenge for the win.
Okay. But even so, you provided us with quite a finish there, right on the back of Tom. What do you think Tom did today that allowed him to win? That you couldn't quite manage.
It's very hard to say. This grid is very, very close. So yeah, the car still makes a little bit difference. I think his car is a little bit better than mine still. But yeah, I think it overall, I think it was because his tires were 2 laps fresher than mine in the end.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We can talk about cars for a second if you like, because that was actually the first podium for Green Stripe since 2019. How did you get involved with this team, and what do you think it's going to mean to them that you've come in and given them this result pretty much immediately?
Well, I think they are very, very happy about that. Got basically asked at the Nürburgring by Carter to if I wanted to try to drive, and I said yes, and I want to try it, and yeah, that's how I got here.
Unbelievable. So it really was that recent. You weren't really connected with Green Stripes before. You just kind of got asked from your Superlights performances. Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's cool.
Well, you've made your name, that's for sure. 2nd position and your very first Super League podium in just your 2nd race. Congratulations. And if you keep it up, I'm sure I'll be speaking to you way, way more.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. See you around, Mark.
Yeah.
So those are all of the interviews done for today. There's no one else in the interview room. Thank you very much to all of the top 4 who are the drivers who I interviewed just then. This has been a wonderful day of GPVWC action. If we put up the calendar again for a second, if that would be okay, you can see that our next Super League race is in 2 weeks' time. So we don't have a big break like we did for this one. Don't worry, it's okay if not. But yes, the next race is going to be the Canadian Grand Prix in just 2 weeks' time. Leading up to that, of course, we have the standard FS2, which is going to be on Tuesday, FS1, which is on Thursday, and then SL2, which is going to be on next Tuesday. And then, of course, the Canadian Grand Prix, always one of the most exciting. It's kind of part street circuit, part long straight, because that's basically what the other section of the circuit is. And we've had some bangers of Grand Prix there in the past as well. If Spain can produce the action, then anything can, and I certainly wouldn't want to miss any of the other races of this championship. Thank you all very much for stopping by. Thank you for being so active in the YouTube chat. This has been a really good day here, and I will see you next time out. Goodbye.
Bye.